Here we are, it is now the very end of May of 2021, and as we go into the month of June is when a lot of things are going to start being put into development, such as the Ahsoka Tano series, as well as the Mandalorian Season 3 getting ready to begin, a lot more development on that show that's going to lead to Season 4, and so on and so forth. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. As well, check me out at Mike01 on Twitter. Now, when we go ahead and examine what's going on between Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, is that these two, what they're really trying to do, they're really trying to satisfy the fans by bringing back tons of Star Wars Legends material back into the mix within the Disney canon to really make the fans very happy, especially the hardcore fans. We're talking about the fans that have been around from the very beginning. We're talking about the ones that grew up with the original trilogy and really read all of the Legends books throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, leading into the very last one, Crucible, in 2013. Now, here's the really interesting aspect of the franchise and where it's going. We do know that this fall, a lot of TV shows are set to be announced, as well as a ton of Star Wars movies. Basically, what Disney wants to do is that they want to announce more slots for new films of Star Wars. We're not only getting the individual Star Wars movies, but as well as a fourth Star Wars trilogy that we've been talking about for quite a long time now. However, what's really exciting is that major changes are coming our way to the fourth Star Wars trilogy, all thanks to creator Jon Favreau himself. And this really is a big deal that I think a lot of fans are going to want to actually sit back and listen to, because it does involve a fan favorite timeline in the Star Wars universe that a lot of fans grew up with. Now, specifically, of course, what's really exciting about all of this, alright, is that now that the higher-ups over at Disney are moving away from Kathleen Kennedy's general ideas and concepts for the Star Wars universe, and only leaving her with the Acolyte series, fans are very excited about the future of Star Wars by Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. However, it's described that Jon Favreau is currently in the process of convincing Disney to make a major change with their fourth Star Wars trilogy of movies that they are currently putting together as we speak. It's described that creator Jon Favreau is making big changes to the Star Wars universe, where just recently he convinced the Disney CEO Bob Chapek to make drastic adjustments to the new Star Wars trilogy to focus on a more fan-driven timeline that they are satisfied with. It's described that Favreau is pushing the higher-ups over at Disney to switch the new trilogy from being focused on a brand new era to the Old Republic timeline, and that Disney is described to be ready to make these changes immediately, just before they begin writing and announcing these new films by this fall. Jon Favreau is said to be the one directly responsible for convincing Disney to switch the films over to the Old Republic era of the franchise, and that Favreau convinced Disney to focus on more talented writers and directors for the new movies that are currently being put into development right now for the Old Republic timeline of Star Wars. Favreau is said to have a creative impact on these new movies once they begin and go into production, and that they will be officially announced this fall around the November and December timeframes, so keep your eyes open. Favreau is promising the fans that their fan favorite characters from these stories will be put into live action form. So here's the real exciting thing about all of this, is that Jon Favreau really is trying his absolute best to make the Star Wars fans happy. What he wants to do is that he really wants to create a major impact on the Star Wars fandom. That's exactly what he's doing, and that's exactly what he's going to do by the very end of this year. So, we talked about the fourth trilogy numerous times, of how it was going to focus on a dark side-oriented family, on the world of Exegol, and stuff around those lines. This, of course, was the set of movies starring Keanu Reeves, which, by the way, he is still going to be attached to these new films that are now being pushed for the Old Republic timeline. This, alright, I think is a better direction, obviously. This is more exciting, and it kind of steers away from the Rise of Skywalker, because Exegol was a planet connected to Episode 9, and when you think about it like that in that sense, a lot of fans are just very much skeptical about any movies being attached to the sequel trilogy. So thankfully they're kind of shifting away from that how there's going to be very little connections to Episode 9. And now that what they want to do is they want to focus on that old Republic era. Now, here's the plan, is that George, Jon, and Dave, they're already working on a ton of projects as we speak already. That really does speak volumes. I mean, it tells us how dedicated they really are to the Star Wars fandom and what they are really trying to do with the overall franchise. Here's the other thing now, is that when we go ahead and examine everything related to Disney Star Wars, Kathleen Kennedy has no creative impact on these new Star Wars movies. Neither does she have a creative impact on any of the Star Wars TV shows, except for Star Wars The Acolyte, and that is it. That is all. That is the only thing that she's going to be involved in, creatively speaking, with Leslie Headland, and that's the end of the story for her. So, this major push by Jon Favreau is a huge win. It's a big success. It tells us that these new movies are really going to be cinematic masterpieces, and they're really going to stand out. The biggest question of all, alright, we do know that Disney is opening up slots for new movies, besides the 3 ones that have already been announced. We're not quite sure if these will be theatrical releases, or movies being thrown onto the Disney Plus platform. That we're still unaware of. I highly doubt that it would be thrown onto the Disney Plus platform if they're going to be highly cinematic and geared toward a fan favorite timeline such as the Old Republic. But we also went over a couple of weeks ago how Disney wants to experiment with actually releasing movies onto the Disney Plus platform. So it's really hard to say exactly what's going on with these Old Republic films, if they're going to be more small-scale movies, or if they're going to really be thrown onto the Disney Plus platform for that matter. We'll have to wait and see by this fall. This fall is when we're going to get a lot of major announcements. November is usually when Disney makes a lot of those announcements. Keep in mind is that back in 2016 of November as well is when Rian Johnson's supposed trilogy got announced. So November is the big month leading into December. Cannot wait to see exactly what they have in store for the future. Now, this is the other thing that I think a lot of fans need to know, is that Favreau is going to have a lot of creative development or impact on the new Star Wars movies. So he's going to have a lot of say in the matter of how these movies will be done. He's also going to be able to tell the fans, that a lot of things are going to be put into fruition here. A lot of Star Wars Legends material is coming our way. And a lot of that will be announced by November to December of this year. Jon Favreau, I believe that obviously he is a dedicated guy. He is a fan. He is a creator at heart. And he just understands the Star Wars audience. He knows what they want to see. And that, to me, I believe, is the biggest impact of all when it comes to Star Wars. The fact that we now have a creator that wants to help the fandom, that wants to create these new stories driven by, the old content that we saw many years ago before Disney took over and wiped out a lot of Star Wars Legends. Favreau and Filoni are now bringing back a lot of that back into play here and throwing it into the Disney canon. That, to me, is very inspiring and very much something to be excited about. So like I've said before in the past, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.